All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Nora Kelly. I'm the Senior Specialist for the Affiliate Fairs, and I am here with my colleague, Alex Grace. Alex and I are responsible for the Thermo Fisher JIC program, and you've probably received emails from us throughout the application process. This session is being recorded so that other students who cannot join us today can also hear this information, and you can go back and watch again if you would like. So today we are going to talk with some alumni who are finalists in the Thermo Fisher JIC just last year. But before we get started, I want to give you a quick synopsis of the Thermo Fisher JIC program itself. So Thermo Fisher JIC is a program of the Society for Science, which is the organization that Alex and I work for. The Society for Science is a nonprofit dedicated to public engagement in the scientific community. The Society also runs 3 distinguished science competitions. The first is the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, which is the world's largest international pre-college science competition and is open to high school students. Next, the Regeneron Science Talent Search is the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and math competition for high school seniors. Finally, we have the Thermo Fisher JIC, which is the one that you have been nominated for. You want to go ahead and introduce Thermo Fisher, Alex?
Yes, sorry. Thermo Fisher JIC is the premier national science fair-based competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. To qualify to enter Thermo Fisher JIC, a student must place within the top 10% in a society-affiliated fair. If you're watching this video, then it's likely you already received a nomination. Congratulations! This is an incredible opportunity, and we highly encourage you to make the most of it. If you haven't opened an application already, hopefully you will after this webinar. Ultimately, 30 finalists have the opportunity to spend a week in DC showcasing their research projects and competing as teams in hands-on STEM activities. We have several recorded webinars to walk you through the application process and answer your questions. You can find the recordings of these in the Resources tab on your SurveyMonkey Apply account. Nominees who submit by the deadline will join a league of distinguished alumni who continue to do amazing things. This past March, 7 middle school competition alumni competed at the 83rd Regeneron Science Talent Search, the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and math competitions for high school seniors. Middle school alumni Aditi Avinash, who represented her class as the speaker at the awards gala this past year, created a brief video for you all about her experience.
Hi, my name is Aditi Avinash, and I'm a senior in high school from Colorado, and I have been an active participant in competitions run by the Society for Science since I was in 8th grade. I've competed in the International Science and Engineering Fair, and this past year I was a top 40 finalist at the Regeneron Science Talent Search. But my science journey actually began in 8th grade when I was a top 300 scholar for the Broadcom Masters competition, which is now called the Thermo Fisher Scientific Junior Innovators Challenge. And today I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about my experience with Broadcom Masters and why I think that you should apply. I personally decided to apply for the competition because I've always loved science, specifically the idea of exploring the unknown or creating innovations to tackle world problems. And this competition inspires students to do just that, create the skills they need to solve the world's biggest challenges. Another reason why I applied and why I think you really should apply is because of the friends that you will meet through the competition. Often, when I was younger, I struggled with finding other friends who shared the same interests I had, especially when it came to research. But I promise, the peers that you meet through this experience will change your life. I still talk daily to many of the people I met as a finalist for the Science Talent Search competition, and I consider some of them to be my closest friends. Applying and being named a top 300 scholar had such a positive impact on me because it solidified and deepened my interest in STEM. And my initial experience in the competition is why and how I decided to continue research throughout high school, having the immense privilege of participating in other Society for Science competitions. My biggest piece of advice for those of you who are interested in applying or are still on the fence about whether to apply or not is to just try. Because if you had told me in 8th grade that I would be a top 300 scholar for the competition, there is no way I would have believed you. Genuinely, it is always worth just trying, because like me, you may end up being pleasantly surprised. Remember, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So when you write your essays, be authentic and make sure to let your own personality shine through. Be passionate, be bold, and most importantly, be yourself. Participating in this competition was one of the most meaningful experiences I had. It furthered my love for STEM, encouraged me to continue research, prepared me for success as I entered high school, and it gave me a community I felt like I belonged in. So I really, really hope you all apply. I promise you will not regret it. Thank you.
Great, some great words from Aditi. And now, without further ado, we're going to meet the alumni that are here with us tonight. So tonight we are speaking with 2023 finalists Shania Gill and Ellie Lou Olvera. Our wonderful alumni are here tonight to talk with us about their experiences as finalists, to share their advice for you as nominees through this process, and to answer your questions. So I'm going to do a brief introduction for each of them. So Shania Gill is from San Jose, California, and in 2023, she won the $25,000 Thermo Fisher Scientific Ascend Award for her project titled Prevention of Casualties and Property Damage Using Thermal Imaging and Software-Based Occupancy Detection. Shania created a fire detection system that uses thermal imaging to identify unattended heat sources and then texts you if that heat source has been left unattended for too long. Shania is also passionate about sports and hopes to be a biomedical engineer one day.
Ellie Lou Olvera is from Goleta, California, and in 2023, she won the $10,000 Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Award for health advancement for her project titled Best Natural Fabric for a Reusable Menstrual Pad. Ellie Lou identified an eco-friendly fabric suitable for creating affordable and reusable menstrual pads. Her absolute passion is being in the water, especially freediving. One day, she wants to become an environmental engineer.
Great, and now we will jump right on into our questions that we have. So Alex and I will take turns asking a question, and Ellie Lou and Shania will have you guys each take turns answering each of the questions. So the first thing I want to ask you is, can you start by telling us your favorite part of finals week? What should current applicants be excited about potentially being able to do during finals week? So Ellie Lou, do you want to start us off by answering that question, and then we'll have Shania go next?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you. So, one of my favorite things about finals week was the fact that I was able to spend so much time with all 30 of the finalists, not just the people in my core finalist group. And so I was able to make such strong friendships with everyone who was at the nationals competition. And I got to hang out with my people who understood me, people who I felt safe around, and who are my family. And that didn't just mean the kids, it also meant the adults as well. I even had someone that I called my JIC mama, who was a mentor for me while I was participating in the competitions. And I loved having that connection with all of the people at Thermo Fisher.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Shania, how about you? What was your favorite part?
I definitely agree with Ellie in the way that it's not just your team and it's like everyone who is at the competition. But I guess an experience that really just stood out to me was in Chesapeake Bay. We looked at biodiversity there, and so we had the chance to hold fish and like see different animals and whatnot that were living in the water. And that was just a really nice experience to have because it wasn't just with your team, it was also with other teams, and we were working together just to get like the most diverse sample of animals we could. So that was really fun.
Thank you, Shania. That's a great answer. All right, next question. I'll have Shania start with this one. We'll go to Ellie Lou. Flip-flop. Why should students apply to the National Middle School Competition, and what motivated you to apply?
Yeah, I think it's just a really good way to showcase, I guess, what you got. And it's a really big confidence boost as well to do something and then see that other people appreciate what you have done. And through the application, I learned a lot about myself too because of the essays that you had to write about yourself. So I just think it'd be a wonderful experience. And also, it taught me a lot about time management, just the application itself, because I pushed it towards like the last few weeks and like the last month. And so that was a lot to get through. So it just teaches you a lot and it's a nice experience.
Kelly Lou, what about you?
Well, I actually wasn't planning to do any science fairs at all. When I first started my project, it was really a personal research project turned science fair project. But through a series of science fairs, I found my way to JIC, and I just thought, like, again, these are like-minded individuals who really understand me. And I definitely agree with Shania that I got to know myself a whole lot better just through the application process, and that it definitely teaches you about time management because I also pushed it kind of close towards the end for some of the questions. And so I really learned how to manage my time when answering so many questions.
Great, thank you both. All right, next question. Some students might be debating whether or not to apply and maybe haven't seen themselves as scientists or engineers before. What is your own STEM journey or STEM story? And how did you become interested in STEM? And what words of advice do you have for students who might be feeling perhaps this imposter syndrome? And we'll start with you, Ellie Lou, and then go to Shania second.
Okay, so like I said before, this was really a personal research project. And I decided I wanted to help make a difference. So it was a personal science fair project. And I was just testing fabrics that were available to me and were affordable as well as natural, obviously. And one of my classmates actually encouraged me to participate in the science fair in my county, and then I moved on to state. I didn't know a lot about the Thermo Fisher competition, although I had heard of it as I had continued in my other science fairs. And I was really interested in the fact that Thermo Fisher wasn't just interested in my project, but me as a person and who I was, and that the project was really something that complemented who I was as a person. I also feel like when doing a science fair project, you have to pick something that you really love because for a science fair project to be good, it's going to be hard and it's going to take some time. And if you choose something that you don't truly feel passionate about, then you may get a little bit bored with it towards the middle or the difficult parts, and you may not feel as encouraged to finish it in the end.
That makes sense. Thank you. Go ahead, Shania.
I think for those who are experiencing some sort of imposter syndrome or thinking that, they're not a scientist, I feel like a good way to look at it is that it's STEM, right? It's not just science and memorizing facts because, I've never been good at terms or like whatever photosynthesis is in science. But what I like about STEM is that you can take whatever passions you have and then put it towards something that matters. And I've always been a fan of crafts, and I told myself I would never, ever, ever become an engineer because a lot of people in my family are engineers, and I want to do something different. And so I wanted just to craft all day and craft all night. But then I found a way to put my love of crafting into science and STEM, and then put whatever passion I had for crafts and then put it towards something that matters. So I think no matter what you have a passion for, it can always be applied to something innovative and something that can actually, help someone. So yeah, it really does not matter like what you're good at or what you enjoy doing. There's always a way to put that into something that can help someone. So yeah.
It's a really encouraging answer. Thank you, Shana. All right, next one. Research can be tough, as you both know, and sometimes you make mistakes. What mistakes did you make during your research process, and what did you learn from it? Johnny, if you want to start us off on this one.
So I make very, I guess, impulsive choices. So randomly I'll get a burst of motivation, and then whatever idea I have to fix whatever's going wrong, whatever bug in my research, I would do it immediately. And that often ends up in me completing a goal that I want to complete, but a goal that does not help my project in the right way, if you understand what I'm saying. So I guess a good way to combat making silly mistakes is to think about what you do before you do it, and not to go to Home Depot with your dad and buy everything you can get your hands on and then realize that it's not important to your project at all. But yeah, and then also just making mistakes in general are fine, because my mom always just says that hard work, it never goes to waste. So either you're gonna learn to not make that mistake again, or it's gonna work out. So
Thank you both. All right, next question. What tips do you have for students when they get stuck trying to answer the application questions? Shania, why don't you start us off?
just take a break. I feel like often I would have no ideas, and then I would sleep on it, and the next day I'd wake up with like way more ideas, and then often just write what first comes to your mind, especially for those personal questions that are about you. Just to be completely honest with them, and that's usually how you get your best answers, because I mean, you don't have to fake anything, and it's just purely true to yourself. And yeah, I feel like I would take your time to enjoy it rather than to take it as a task, and then it becomes something that you enjoy doing instead of a task that you have to do.
That's great advice. What about you, Ellie Lou?
Well, as I said before, I was kind of on the late end of answering my questions, but that was because I would sort of read the questions and then marinate on the answers. And like Shania said, when you sleep on it, you wake up with so many more ideas in the morning, or just talking about it with a variety of different people. Sort of helped me fine tune my answers so that when I sat down, I had something instead of just sitting and staring at the screen for 40 minutes and not really knowing what I wanted to say.
Thank you. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, talking about finals week. Can you share your experience working in a team for the challenges during finals week? What did you learn from this, and have you applied it to any other experiences since? And Ellie Lou, you can start us on this one too.
So my team always had my back because the competitions, they range in a variety of subjects, and I obviously didn't know everything that we were doing. And there was always one member on my team who had a handle or a grasp or who understood what was being asked. And so I could rely on my team if I didn't know what was happening, to help fill me in and help me understand what we were doing. And so I knew that they would always be there for me. And since then, I've tried to be that member of the team in any other group setting. I've been the one who's there to help someone who doesn't understand what's happening in that moment.
Great.
For me, I agree with what Ellie said so much. Like, in the team projects that we had, I feel like the talent was very well distributed. So there'd be always someone who was really good at something, and then someone, and so it was nice to have like such a well built team, so that we were able to do the projects. And I think a really cool part about being on a team with a certain group of people throughout finals week was that you could make friends with them. And so I found that it's a lot easier to communicate with friends rather than just random strangers. So it was a lot about kind of community and being able to communicate with people, like maybe what ideas you wanted to implement, or maybe you didn't like a certain idea and you wanted to change it. So yeah, I just think it was a nice opportunity to be able to be friends with the people on your team and then be able to work with them. So
Great. And what was your biggest takeaway from Thermo Fisher JIC? Positively surprised by anything?
I really enjoyed just So I came into the competition with the idea that I would just go there, try my best, and leave, because the idea of just traveling with my dad to somewhere academic was so foreign to me, because every time I would get on a plane, it'd be, okay, I'm going on a vacation. But this time I went on the plane to go to Thermo Fisher JIC, and I was so stressed because I had no clue what it was going to be like. But then I got there, and then a lot of times for the projects, I would be kind of afraid to speak up or kind of stressed. But then, yeah, I kind of just got comfortable with the people around me. And then it became less of I'll just try my best and leave, and more of I'll try to savor this time I have with these new friends.
Great, thanks. And Ellie Lou?
Kind of what Shani said, savoring my time with my friends. I came into the situation feeling really nervous because there was such a wide variety of people, and they had so many different passions and hobbies that I wondered if I would be able to fit in or find someone to connect with. But I connected with people right away, and those friendships only got stronger as the week went on. And I mean, I'm still in contact. Like, we text almost every day. My core team from the finals were called Team Traffic Cones because we had orange shirts during the finals, and we still check in and chat about all sorts of things. And I feel like I can talk to my friends, especially if I run into a problem with science-related things or testing. I can chat to them, and they can help me bounce around ideas that I might have. So it's great to have that support structure even now.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question. Post-finals week, what have you been up to? Is there anything you learned during finals week that led you to where you are today? Shania, do you want to get us started on this one?
Yeah, I think during finals week, it kind of dawned on me that a lot of people were doing science just for the purpose of having like a college resume or something good to put on an application to some school or whatever. But I just really enjoyed science, and I never saw myself going all the way to Thermo Fisher JIC. And I, during that time, was someone who definitely did things just to prepare for college, because that's kind of how my community is. So I found myself dropping a lot of things that I just didn't enjoy, that I was doing for a resume. And so a lot of the things, like some hobbies that I sort of pretended to have because they would look good on an application, I stopped doing. And so I found myself being a lot less busy and a lot more able to do the things that I'm actually passionate about and enjoy, and I could get better at that. And so I think it's been going well because I've been able to get good at the things that I enjoy doing rather than just things that would look good maybe if I want to apply to a private high school. Um, but yeah, I have been trying to bring my project to the market, and it's been taking some time because there's multiple stages to making sure that it's working well and everything. But yeah, I've been having a good time.
Awesome. Ellie Lou, what have you been up to since JIC?
Well, my project isn't actually finished. There are 3 layers to my reusable menstrual pad, and I had just completed the first layer of testing, so I've been testing my second layer this year, and I'm going to go to Panama in a couple of months to do some in-the-field research with the climate of Panama and how that works with air drying my fabrics. Um, and I'll also be volunteering at a nonprofit organization there for 2 weeks. So I'm super excited to do that. And then I'm also aspiring to participate in the Regeneron Science Fair during one of my years of high school after I've completed more steps of my pad testing. So I'm excited.
Sounds like you guys are just a little bit busy. So along the same lines, what are some interests or hobbies that you have outside of science, and do you ever find that they cross over? And go ahead, Ellie Lou.
I love the water. I love all things water involved. I do swim, water polo, surf, free diving. And so I've always sort of been interested in marine biology, but I've expanded that into an environmental engineer because I love bridging that gap between nature's needs and humans' needs and having nature and people working together. I also love advocating. I'm a huge advocator for all things. And so that's sort of, again, where my project started was researching a problem, which is period poverty, and wanting to be an advocate for that. And JIC gave me such an amazing platform to be able to talk about the problem of period poverty. And so I've continued with my advocating for that in my town and my city. So.
Fabulous. Thank you. Go ahead, Shania.
Ellie's answer was extremely well created and very deep as well. I have something a little bit more shallow. I just really love doorknobs. I love taking apart my old doorknobs and applying new ones. And my mom bought this recent one. It's an electrical one, and on the doorknob there's like a lock that like is on the handle, and it's very interesting to me because I don't know, I just have a strange passion for doorknobs. So I've been making myself busy with that, and I've been exchanging the locks and everything on my door, just having it look pretty. And yeah, I would say that's one of my biggest hobbies these days.
Sounds fun. All right, we have one more question for you all before we open it up to and answer some questions from the chat. So one more. We know you're very busy with schoolwork, after school activities, hobbies, research. What are some tips you have for managing your time and your mental health, especially for students who now have an application to complete on top of everything else? Shani, do you want to start us on this one?
I guess just keep on pushing through, but something that really helped me was listening to music and doing work. And I know for a lot of people that might distract them, but like lo-fi music, I feel like it just really helped me forget about the clock and work harder. And I think a big thing is to see your work as not really just a task that you have to get rid of. It's something that you can take your time and then make it something that you really value. I feel like school assignments in which I try hard and try to make it neat and nice and organized. I tend to enjoy working on those and enjoy presenting it to the class and whatnot, rather than those that I kind of just want to get out of the way and move on with my life. So definitely enjoy your work because that's something that you get to do rather than have to do, I guess.
Kelly Lou?
So, as I said before, I really recommend marinating on the questions, thinking about yourself as an overall person, but instead of like this question that involves me and trying to put me as an entire person just in the answer to that one question, looking at all of the different questions to see how I can break up who I am and put a little bit in each of the questions. I also felt like something that really helped me was having a plan timed, not like I'm just going to do this on my free time because maybe I didn't have free time that week or I had a lot of free time and I felt like I was just working on the application. But on this day, for this many minutes, I'm going to be working on these 5 questions. And that way I didn't feel burnt out on the questions at any time. I also really feel like sports helped me get through it. I swim to help calm my mind. And I couldn't do swim practice as much during the end of the application process, but I chatted with my coaches and my parents, and we still found time for me able to swim. And it really helped my brain sort of relax and take a break from thinking about my application. So I really recommend continuing the things that you love because it just helps your brain again to relax and take a break.
Great. Thank you both so much. I know we kind of hit you with a lot of questions, but I know that a lot of people watching are taking your advice and love hearing from alumni. So thank you for indulging us in answering those questions. We do have just a little bit of time to take some questions that might come in through the chat. So if you're watching and have any questions for Shania and Ellie Lou about the application or finals week or the competition in general, feel free to write those in. A few questions that have already come in that I want to kind of just address and answer real quick. One is to say that we do have a tips and tricks webinar that you can watch on our YouTube channel that will answer kind of all of those 101 questions that you might have and can give you some ideas to help you with your application. But just to kind of reiterate, like we did in the beginning of the call, some overview of the Thermo Fisher JIC competition. Students will compete at their local or regional middle school science fair, and then the top 10% of those winners at their regional fair will then be nominated for the Thermo Fisher Junior Innovators Challenge. So each year we have about 6,000 students across the whole US and territories that are nominated, and about 2,500 of those will actually enter the competition and apply. And they go through a judging process, and then we name the top 300 innovators. And then from those top 300 innovators, we name the top 30 finalists. And those 30 finalists are the ones that come to DC for an all expense paid week. Ellie, Lou, and Shania were both two of those top 30 finalists last year. Another question we get a lot is about the visual aid that you upload into your application. So this is a 2-page visual aid, with the idea being that this is going to help the judges understand your project better and understand what you did. So we ask that it not just be a visual representation of your project board, of that trifold board, but that you actually put in pictures about what you did. If you designed something, put in pictures of the device you designed, or of some of your trials that you did. Your charts or graphs or things like that is the purpose of the visual aid. And then one other basic question that we get asked a lot is about team projects and teammates. So team projects can apply and are encouraged to apply. Each team member has to fill out their own application. And even if one of your team members does not want to enter the competition, that's fine. You're judged individually. So even if it's a team project, you both have to apply and answer all the questions. And they should be in your own words. So you shouldn't just be copying, pasting whatever your teammate is entering into the competition. And you will be judged individually on what you did for that project, as well as just your individual merits in school and your hobbies and your answers to a bunch of the other questions. Okay, let's see, what other questions do we have? So for Ellie, Lou, and Shania, Shania, you mentioned this a little bit briefly, but do either of you feel like JIC has helped you all get your inventions out into the world or getting them out to the market? And what has that experience been like? Shania, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think news and social media has a lot of power, and so people recognizing me and inviting me somewhere wouldn't have been possible without JIC because of the publicity that comes with it. And so I was able to meet the U.S. Fire Administrator because of JIC and the publicity that it gave me. And I think that was a wonderful opportunity of mine, and I was able to talk with some people who I really admired. So, yeah, I think if the goal is to bring your project to light because you're really proud of it, I think JIC is the way to go.
Amazing. Really quickly, Michelle Glidden, who's in the chat right now, is answering some of your questions. This is our colleague. She's trying to get your questions right as you're asking them. So thank you, Michelle, for that. Couple other questions. Saying that does the project have to be finished before the application is submitted? So all of the data you have collected at the time of your nomination is valid to be entered into your application. Because that project has been approved, you have all the approvals you need to compete at your affiliated fair. So you're only able to include information collected and data collected at the time of nomination. Let's see. Another question for Shania and Ellie Lou that I'm seeing. Do you guys have any tips for writing the essays? Or working on the essays?
You can go, or I'll go. So one of my main tips again is looking at all the questions and seeing yourself as a whole person, and finding out how you want to break yourself up to answer all of the questions. And I know that sounds a little strange, but that also helps different parts of you be seen in different questions and make sure people understand you as a whole instead of, maybe copying and pasting the same thing in several questions. You give a new viewpoint for people to understand about you.
I would say to take the time to do the optional questions as well. Not if you're gonna write a whole paragraph about it, but also just to think about the optional questions, because I feel like the optional questions were the one I definitely enjoyed doing the most. And even if it doesn't work out, I feel like the application itself just tells you a lot about yourself, and so it's just a really good opportunity to have anyway. And it's kind of like journaling, I guess. And I feel like journaling is pretty good for you. So whether you get in or not, you can just take the time, and it's really nice and relaxing.
And a tip I would also give folks for writing not just their essays, but the application in general too, is to write out your responses in a Word document. And then you can copy and paste those into the application just in case you forget to hit save for one of the tasks or something like that. You have it all written out and you're not stuck having to rewrite. And another kind of tip that both Shania and Ellie Lou have mentioned as well is taking the time to answer all the questions and not trying to rush a response and often sleeping on a question maybe. And in order to do that, you have to apply early or start your application early. So we always recommend that folks start the application as soon as they're nominated. You can save your progress as you go through. You can even submit and then go back and make edits as well. So always good to give yourself as much time as possible to answer all of the essays. And let's see. So, and we always get a few questions about this, and we can just touch briefly in the few minutes we have left about kind of the judging process, which is that there is no rubric that is shared for what the judges are looking for or how they're evaluating projects, both in the application phase as well as choosing those top 300 innovators or top 30 finalists. And so really they're looking at your application as a whole and looking at your project as well as your responses to those questions. And so there is no real judging rubric that we share out. And Alex, I think there's one more question here that we can ask Ellie, Lou, and Shania.
Yes. Approximately how long did it take for you to complete the application? Johnny, do you want to start us on this one?
Let me think. So I started it right when I got the opportunity to, and so I think I forgot when that was, but I think I spent 3 weeks working on it in the beginning, and then 1 week at the very end. Yeah, so 1 month in total. And this isn't like 1 month of every day I'm working really hard on it. It's more like maybe 1 hour every day or every other day. And I think it was fun for me. I saw it as journaling. And so, yeah, it really wasn't a task for me, and I enjoyed doing it. And yeah, but something that I would recommend is that on some of the pages there are multiple pages to it, and there isn't just one. So I thought I was finished with everything, but near to the deadline of the when I had to turn it in, I found out that there's another page to a section, and that was horrible because I did not have enough time to finish it, so I had to rush that one. So I would just recommend to definitely do it in the beginning, and then that way, when mishaps happen like that, you have time to fix them.
Lulu?
I also started, I at least opened my application soon after I got it. I actually took a little longer. I took about a month and a half to complete my application, and that was like steady going. I didn't take a break really, but I still wasn't cramming each day with a lot of the questions. Two things that really helped for me give me peace of mind was one, reading my answers to someone else, whether it was like my friend or my grandma or whoever, um, was really great because hearing it out loud, I guess, is different to me than just reading it on the page. And it really helped me see if that felt true to myself. And then also not being afraid to email JIC with questions, because I did have a couple questions during the application process. And like, no question is a bad question. Every question is good, and it really shows that you care and you want to do your best for the applications. And so questions are super great, and they were answered amazingly. So I really appreciated having that support structure from JIC.
Great. That is a perfect plug for me to remind everybody that any questions that we're not getting to tonight or questions that come up as you are going through the application, you can always email us. And the email is jic@societyforscience.org. So feel free to email us and we'll get back to you about that. So we're just about out of time, but I want to again thank Ellie Lou and Shania for joining us. It was great getting to see you all again and chat, and really appreciate your time. And again, for anybody who's watching, this has been recorded, so you can rewatch if you would like, as well as check out any of our other webinars on our YouTube channel. So thank you all for watching.